Hello, everybody. So, very happy to talk to you today. And the title of my live is a little different from, I would say, the usual theme I address. So, this is about what would I tell to Gabby Berstein, pronouncing it with German way, and Tom Bilyeu, French way. So what would I tell to Gabby Berstein and Tom Bilyeu if they were in my living room? So why did I choose to talk about that? So yesterday I watched a video on YouTube which is broadcasted from the YouTube channel of Tom Bilyeu. I don't know if my pronunciation is right. And he has a lot of, I don't watch many of his videos though, but I've seen a few of them. And yesterday was between, the spiritual way of handling success and the more scientific approach, which was represented by the interviewer, which was Tom. And it was very interesting to watch this back and forth discussion, and something that caught my attention that then I thought, I'm going to share that with you because it's something fun that I do sometimes. Actually, not sometimes, quite oftentimes when I look into people's energy when they talk. And I feel them, and I know what's happening behind. So, Gabby Berstein was approaching the topic of the fact that she had postpartum depression and anxiety, and then she had to have recourse to medication in order to get out of it. And even though she's been in the personal development industries for many, many, many years, and used to advocate healing the soul aspect, so that the physical works, she had to actually go to the medical and use medication to help her feel better. And that has been a turning point in how she looked at trauma, and which is what I want to talk about today, not trauma, but healing. Because then she realized that she had to go very deep and heal something that she hasn't really addressed for all of these years being in the personal development industry. And it was very touching because a lot of the symptoms that she was talking about, I could relate to in terms of being very easily triggered, in terms of having these, when you try to change your state, you can go very far from where you want to be, and then you have to bring yourself back, which is, in a nutshell, what the personal development industry has been teaching, which is about it's all about the way you think, it's all about how you then feel, and then when you are not in the right state, bring it back, and they give you tools and techniques to change your state. This is what the whole personal industry is about. It's changing your perspective, change the way you then see it, and then you feel, and then things will get better. But what is happening is there is this underlying emotions that is a scar, a wound, a trauma that is not dealt with. And that so in essence, what you witness in the personal development industry is that they tell you, if you feel bad, just focus on the good, and then the bad will go away. And I remember 10 years ago, I had a coach, and he was kind of teaching me this technique. But I then looked at him, I said, yes, but the pain doesn't go away. It's still there. How do you deal with this? At the time, I didn't know about healing. And I desperately wanted to get out of that really low vibe state that I was in all the time. It was a constant struggle, a constant fight to just function. And obviously, there are various underlying reasons why, that was the case. But then when you want to address it, changing your state works temporarily. Because then when the pain shows up again, when that thing that you haven't dealt with is still vivid inside you, then you get back to this low vibe aspect of yourself. And this is what it is. This is what I wanted to point out. As long as you don't address it, it will come back over and over again. And yes, you can develop a very strong discipline into mindset, thinking, belief. But if you don't heal, this is then what happens. If you don't heal, so this is what happened with Gabby Berstein. She didn't address the healing part of herself. She developed various coping mechanisms, but then she didn't go in depth into healing. And this was the missing part, which she now realizes it. So I was talking to a client earlier, and I said, you see, even someone who's been in the personal industries, at the end, she did a very long journey of self-discovery, but then she comes back to the core, which is about healing that wound and addressing it. And, Gabby Berstein is a big name in the personal industry because of how inspirational she is. I'm not looking at that aspect because this is a given. I'm looking at what still hurts inside her. And when I looked into her energy, what I saw was there's been something that she's been dismissing for a long time, that she didn't want to address. Hence the reason that, sometimes you're not ready to accept it. That's why it's not shown to you until you have no other option. And this is what happened. She had to go into deep depression and anxiety and had to have recourse to something that she would not even consider before, which is medication, to then have to realize that she has to address this trauma, this wound, that is at the core of her suffering. And I actually saw that it's there is like a lot of very deep energy of abuse and trauma, right? It's very deep. So the wound is quite severe. And now she has decided to address it, and she then talked about the fact that she wants to work with people and develop a way that can heal people, and that experience has made her more compassionate towards people. So it's no longer about, okay, if you feel depressed, go and meditate. No, this is something deeper that needs to be addressed. So if she was in my living room, I would look into these wounds and do a very deep healing on that. Because this is the very essence, this is the very foundation of everything that you build your life on. If you're not addressing these wounded parts of yourself, whatever you're building is going to... I'm not saying it's not going to sustain, but it's going to... The strength, right, of what you're building is then in correlation to how solid your foundation is. And if your foundation is not rock solid, because unhealed, then these things will happen. That's why she talked about various hitting a low point many times in various occasions. Why? Because at the very underlying, at the core, there was this big trauma wound that she hadn't addressed. And this is for her time to start the deep healing journey. So that was something that I wanted to share with you. And, you know, if she were there, this is what I would tell her. Okay, so now the interviewer, Tom, he's a scientific person. He swears by it. He has met amazing people. So what I picked up from him was the big word that I heard was sacrifice. And he has sacrificed a lot of himself and of his life to get to where he is. So he has developed these very big, you know, I think he has 1.5 million subscribers or something. So the idea of his show is to bring on stage amazing people who have accomplished amazing things, are kind of superhuman almost, and they are sharing their wisdom. So, and that's why it has an impact, hence impact theory. Okay, so he got very triggered by the when Gabby started to talk about, you know, that sometimes you need to have faith and be patient when you want the thing that you are working on, when you want it to manifest. And that was a huge trigger for him because he is more like the hustler and action taker, and he doesn't really digest these law of attraction stuff, which, the way I felt, that's obviously all of my personal opinion. Nobody has said anything. It's just what I picked up, okay? And to him, the law of attraction stuff is just pure BS, and it's just an excuse for people for being lazy, and that's why they don't accomplish anything. So, but he's open that, you know, there is a way. So if someone wants something good, and he's kind of not closing himself to this, but he's very skeptical around that approach. So what I would tell him was that it's not really about waiting for things to unfold in a way that you don't do anything. It's about tapping into that spiritual energy, which to him is it doesn't make sense. He needs to understand why there is that neurologic pattern, the synapses, and why that information go there. That's why you get excited. So he wants to understand before he gives himself permission to let things unfold in a way that is outside of the norm. So for some people, science is their God, and he's one of them, which is fine, you know. They need to have everything approved through science in order to allow that rule to affect their existence. And yes, so they don't see it that way, but that's the way I see it. The fact that, you know, their God is science, and they only swear by it because to them that's the real way. And it's the same way that someone would say, you know, my religion is the right one. Well, it doesn't really matter as long as you are. For me, it's a question of vibrations and energy and intention. So anyway, so going back to what I saw in him was, and there is a pain underneath that anger. Not really angry. Yeah, he got very triggered because he had to suffer so much, and it had to sacrifice so much to be to that stage of creation in his life and to have accomplished all of that, that if today someone tells him, look, you could have done it much easier, it will just challenge his whole thinking system. You know, that would make, it's like he would, it's almost as if his world would collapse if that was real. So the way I would handle it is I would then heal these. I feel this is related to some obviously pattern he got imprinted from his family. Hence, I see a lot of, you know, he's very disciplined. You can see it. So the bit behind the discipline, there is anger and there is sadness. And even sometimes a little of loneliness. So I would then do a very profound healing on that, because he's so taken by his purpose and his passion that what I'm going to say is a little controversial, and might not sit right with some people, but this is the way I feel, this is the way I see it, and it's my personal opinion. So to me, because he's so taken by his purpose, it's almost as if he has forgotten the real meaning of life, which is about joy. And when some people take their mission so seriously, they almost forget to breathe and live their lives. That's what I'm picking up from Tom. And that's how I would help him to alleviate that tightness that I can feel in him. So that was, if they were here, this is exactly what I would tell them and how I would help them. And obviously, we all have things to improve in our lives. So never put someone on a pedestal because they have something that you don't, the wisdom that you don't have, or the accomplishment that you don't have. Yes, you can learn from people, you can get inspired, but everybody has their good sides and less good sides and things that they are working on and improving, because nobody's perfect. And it's about it's about improvement, because that's what growth is about, right? So that was fun, and I hope you enjoyed it. It's my final word, my final word would be that, let me see. Okay, so this is my message for you today. Don't get lost in your purpose. Don't forget to breathe. Don't forget to have fun and live your life. Find that balance by always checking in with yourself. And that will always be the best guidance you will have. Checking in with your intuition, with your body, with the way you feel, because beyond the rituals that you have to follow, the routine, the discipline, all of this, you can get lost in the process of wanting to get it so right. Because what really matters is what feels right here. And when you listen to that inner guidance system, this is when you are at the top of your game. Yes, you can watch a lot of inspirational videos or books and read books and all of that. Yes, get some inspiration, pick, but don't absorb it like they know better than you. Well, you know better because you know what feels best for you. And that, yes, okay, I like that. I'm going to pick that because it sounds good. But if tomorrow it doesn't feel good, well, I can put it back, because you are the best person to know what feels best for you. Okay? And what I help my clients to do is removing a lot of this heaviness and heal themselves at their core, so that then they can really unfold and just be in line with who they are. And that's the beauty of the work I do. Okay, so on that note, I'm going to wish you a beautiful rest of the evening, and I'm going to have my live Q&A tonight for the module 1 of the group course. I'm really excited. Hi Sherilyn, and I will be seeing you in my next video. Have a good night and happy manifesting. Bye.